knowing your sign. Now, if you take a look at the left side, that's all of the zodiac signs. And then on the right, those are the dates that's associated with the start and the finish of the time. Now, whether or not you get into astrology, the different traits are associated with different groups and signs are true. Now, if you look close at a specific situation and then just look close at how the specific sign handled the situation, those traits I'm sure you would see all in the situation. Specific case, if my wife did something that I didn't like, and then I continuously told her that I didn't like it, she would say I was being bullheaded. And if we look deeper into it, we could probably see that I was being bullheaded. Now, we aren't saying that astrology or the zodiac signs are the end all be all when it comes to relationships. But if you have a fine grasp on how your partner acts and those different traits, we can just use that as a gauge to facilitate the process of your relationship.
So we're going to use ourselves as an example. And this is just because we don't know what your sign is yet. But when we get into each individual couple, we're going to go into very deeply who you are, what your sign is, and the things that you do in a positive manner and the things that you do in a negative manner. So, but for right now, we're just going to use myself and my husband as an example. So, my husband is a Taurus.
Yes, he is.
And some positive traits that a Taurus has is strength of purpose, patience, steadfastness, and conviction. Now, on the opposite hand, when they're expressed in their negative form, they become blind, prejudice, and lack of reasoning. They have lack of reason. So, those are some things that, are on a positive end of a Taurus and on a negative end of a Taurus, right? And I'm going to go into the positive and negative of a Sagittarius, of which I am the beautiful Sagittarius. And then I'm going to jump back in and give you an example, right? So, a Sagittarius, our positive traits are we're very optimistic, we're cheerful, we think with logic, we're very honest, daring, and enthusiastic. Now, when we get into our negative form, we can become reckless, very emotional, very confused. We become very careless, and we oftentimes have lack of tact when we're doing, when we're expressing our negative traits, right? So so me knowing as a Sagittarius, those negative things that I do, right? So I'm gonna just take lack of tact as an example, right? If me and my husband are talking, or we may get in a debate or an argument, right? And I know that one of my negative traits are lack of tact. It is my job to then channel that trait and talk to him in a friendlier manner, in a manner that does not put him on the defense, in a manner that does not um, make him confused, or in a manner that does not have lack of tactness. And now I'm going to go into a positive. So, a positive trait on a Taurus, of which is my husband's sign, right? So, with the Taurus, one of their positive traits is strength of purpose. And this is one thing that is very true when it comes to Dwayne. He has strength of purpose, and if he is committed and uh, has his mind stuck on something, he is going to go full throttle at whatever that is. He's going to go 100%. And sometimes, you know, us having each other, we kind of balance each other, right? Because when I'm confused about something, he sees the vision and he sees the light at the end of the tunnel. So that strength of purpose that he has, he's like, babe, come on, let's go. We got to get this done. And I'm like, oh, well, not right now, right? But because he's so convicted and he has the purpose in his mind, and that strength of purpose in his mind, He understands that this has to be done and it has to get done, and he's going to push me to get it done until it's actually done. So that's what we talk about, the importance of astrology and understanding why astrology is so important. It's not that we want to get your mind set on one thing that we believe in, but more so we want you to just look outside the box. If you're someone who don't believe in astrology, we want you to just look outside the box and see, how does this astrology thing equate to my life? You know, how can this make my life better or make my life worse, right? um it's good to challenge yourself and look at new things within life and see how you can bring new light into any situation in your life, right? But in the aspect of relationships, we want you to really look at this so that you can determine, what is it that I do? What is it that my mate does? And how can these things be worked on, build upon, and ultimately used to strengthen what it is that we have. And astrology is a very important factor in looking at it and using it to your advantage to strengthen and make better what it is that you have within your relationship.
Now, here's a breakdown of the four different elements. We have fire signs, air signs, earth signs, and water signs. So the fire signs are the Aries, the Leos, and the Sagittariuses. The air signs are the Geminis, the Libras, and the Aquariuses. Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces.
And so I'm going to go into exactly what each sign, each element is within the sign, right? So the definitions of, if you look at, excuse me, Aries, they are a fire sign, they are a cardinal, but they work on their positive most times, right? That's what that's saying right next to it. If you look at a Leo, they are a fire sign, they are fixed, but they work on their positive most times. Sagittarius, they're a fire sign, but they are mutable, and we work on our positive most of the times. Now I'm going to go into what that means, right? That cardinal, fixed, or mutable, because that's very important. So cardinal, that means that um you always are thinking you are of utmost importance. So you are paramount, right? And then if you are a fixed sign, it means that you're firmly in position. You are determined, stationary, established. So that means that once you have a certain notion in your mind, there is no one that can come in and change that, right? And then if you are a mutable person, it means that you are capable or subject to change or alteration, right? You're prone to frequent change. So let's take a Sagittarius for instance, right? I am a mutable person. A Sagittarius is a mutable person. So you can put us in any situation and we'll see the positive or the negative out of any of those situations. Now, let's look at it on the opposite side. A positive, so a Sagittarius most of the time always work on their positive, right? So um we are someone who, the chances of you getting us in our negative form is very slim. Now, I'm not saying that you won't get a Sagittarius in their negative form. You will. But the chances of you meeting a Sagittarius and them being a very positive person is very high. It's very likely, unless something happened to alter, how they felt that day, or, something like that. Now, let's take a Virgo, for instance, right? So a Virgo is an earth sign. They're mutable, which means that you can put them in any situation and they'll be able to move with whatever the wind go. They can see the negative or they can see the positive in it, right? But at the same time, a Virgo is most of the time express expressing their negative traits, right? So that's the difference. And that's something that we gotta be very aware of when we talk about this astrology thing. right? And now let's go into a Leo. A Leo is a fire sign, but they're fixed. So that means that they're determined, they're firmly in position, they're stationary. But they're going to be stationary, and most of the time they're stationary in that positive moment. So I hope that's making sense to you guys. And we just want you to think that through. I'm not going to go through each one of them because I want you to take some time and um, think about it on your own. Just kind of find your sign on this list and determine whether you are a water sign, whether you are a fire sign, whether you are earth. Just determine who you are, and then determine who your mate is, and think it through and listen to what we're saying to you, and think that through and see how you can tweak some things to change some things around for the better. So on this slide, we want to go into our zodiac basics. And here you'll see on this slide, we have cardinal, fixed, mutable, positive, and negative. Our cardinal signs are Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. So be careful, and we want you guys to just kind of look at exactly, find yourself in this list and listen to our voices and determine, if you're Aries, if you're a Libra, if you're a Capricorn or Aquarius, that means that you are a cardinal person, right? So that means that you believe that you are of foremost importance. Everything that you do is paramount, right? And then our fixed signs are Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio. Our fixed signs. So if you're fixed, that means that you are firmly in position, stationary, determined, established, and set. That means that once you have your mind set on whatever it is, you are going to stay at that point. No one or nothing can change your mind. That means that that's who you are. You are a fixed person. And then you got your mutable signs, right? So your mutable signs are Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. These people, if you fall into that category, that means that you are capable of or subject to change or alteration, right? That means that you can be put in a situation and maybe you went into the situation and you were negative, but once you heard your mate's point of view, you may have switched and now you became positive. So just kind of figure out where you are in that, whether you're fixed, whether you're cardinal, whether you're mutable, and try to work on those, right? Because once you know who you are, then you can better be able to fix whatever it is that you need to fix. So if you're a person who is fixed, right, you may need to work on not being so firmly in your position. Work on being able to be moved just a little bit, right? And then we want to go into your positive and your negative, right? So some people take for instance a Sagittarius like myself. I am a positive person, and that means that I'm characterized by or displaying certainty, acceptance, or affirmation, right? Now, if you think about someone that's negative, and most of the time, for example sakes, me and my husband is a Taurus, and so he is most of the time working on his negative. That doesn't mean that he's a negative person 100% of the time. It just means that most of the time, if you get into a debate with this person, you may get the negative of that person. So be careful. But that just simply means that they are expressing, containing, or consisting of a negation, refusal, or denial. So be careful and just look at those and determine who it is that you are, and of course who it is that your mate is, so that you guys can work together and try to change the narrative a bit. In this module, we want to go over the 12 mysteries of astrology. So, take for instance a Capricorn, right? A Capricorn, and in parentheses, you'll see a P, and then next to it, you'll see an N. And what that stands for is positive and negative. So, any particular sign has a lot of positive traits, and then they also have a couple of negative traits. We just wanted to take two traits one from each, one positive and one negative, and just go into it a little bit deeper. On your own time, you can kind of you know who you are and you know what sign you are, and so just kind of dig deeper into this astrology thing. Take it a step further and go a little bit deeper into it and see exactly how find out your all of your positive traits and all of your negative traits and try to work on those with yourself, but of course even with your mate. So let's dive right in. So a Capricorn, one of their positive traits is tranquility. That means that they're calm, quiet, and still. Now let's talk about their negative trait, right? Refusal to cooperate. Think about a Capricorn that you know in your life, right? Capricorns is most of the time January and early February. No, end of December, early January. So if you know somebody whose birthday is around that area, then they are a Capricorn. I want you to think about a Capricorn that you know in your life. If you are a Capricorn, if your mate is a Capricorn, or maybe a relative or a friend that's a Capricorn, just think about those people and think about these positive and negative traits, right? So, refusal to cooperate. The reason why we want to go in deep on this refusal to cooperate thing is because if you get into a debacle with your mate or a argument or anything with your mate, understand, if you are dealing with a Capricorn at this moment, they may know that you're right, but are they going to allow you to know that you're right? No, they won't. And you know why? Because at that moment they are refusing to cooperate. Now some of these words are self-explanatory. So I won't go into the definition, but for some of them, if I feel that I may need to go into the definition a little bit deeper, that's what I'm going to do. And so right now I'm going to go into Aquarius, and one of their positive traits is tolerance. So the definition of tolerance is the ability or willingness to tolerate something, in particular, the existence of opinions or behavior that one does not necessarily agree with. So, Aquarius, although they may not agree with your position or what you're saying, they will tolerate what you do or what you're saying because that is one of their positive traits. Now, let's think about their negative, right? Detachment. So an Aquarius, so Aquarius sometimes can become very detached, right? And what that means is that they may become unconcerned with what you're doing or what you're talking about. And in relationships, that can become a major issue because we want somebody that's always concerned with, what is going on in our lives, whether it may be good or bad. So when you have someone who is unconcerned with what's going on in your daily life, sometimes it can make you feel like they may not care as much as you need them to care. So that becomes a negative trait for them. And if you are Aquarius, I want you to work on that. And now we'll go into a Pisces. So a Pisces, one of their positive traits is humility. They're very humble. And what that simply means is that a Pisces knows their worth, but they may not want to exude that. They know that I am somebody who is worthy of whatever it is that they're worthy of, but they're not going to be very boastful about it. They're going to be very humble about who they are and what they have to bring to the table. Now, in their negative, they they have apprehension. So what that means is they have an anxious feeling of something bad happening, right? They're very fearful, they're dreadful. And so that can become a bad thing. That can be a really bad thing within relationships because now what they're doing is sabotaging their situation before it happens. And so what you put out into the universe is what you get back. If you're putting out a fearful mentality or an anxious feeling of something bad or harmful already happening, then what's going to happen? Exactly what you put out. That feeling that you put out is what's going to happen because now you're bringing that into your environment. And so if you're a Pisces, be careful of that and watch out for that. And let's change the narrative again. Aries is the next one, and their positive. One of their positives is raw courage. I just want to tell a story again. My mom is an Aries, and when I tell you, if you ever meet this woman, she is someone who really, really, really has raw courage. This is someone, she's going to walk up to anybody and talk to you as if she's known you for 100 years. She's going to go throughout her life, and everything that she does throughout her life, she does it, and she has so much courage in what she does. I mean, we're talking about my mother, and not to, be a little dim or dim the light on what's going on, but just to tell you a story. My mother is the oldest of four children, all of which passed away before her. Her youngest sister passed away at 14. Her next brother passed away. He fell off of a raffle. I can't remember how high it was. And then her oldest brother got in a motorcycle accident, right? But this woman, if you met her, you would never know that. She does not walk around, holding her head down or anything like that. She goes throughout. Even with all of that happening, she's the only person living. She doesn't, her mom is no longer here. Her dad is no longer here. Her siblings are no longer here. But throughout her life, she goes around and she has, when I tell you, the utmost courage. I mean, the most courage that you could find in any individual. And if you know an Aries, I'm sure you know that an Aries definitely has courage, which is a good thing within a relationship, because what that means is that they're going to go into a situation, and if you've been hurt before and you get an Aries, they're going to work with you. They're going to help build you back, to bring you back together. They're going to help put that puzzle right back together and help put all those pieces back together. So an Aries having that raw courage as their positive trait is something that you definitely want in a relationship. Now, let's talk about their negative, right? In their negative form, or one of their negative traits is impulsive action with no regard for consequences. So, if you piss an Aries off, you better know that they are going to do whatever they feel they need to do without thinking twice about it. They won't have no regard for what's going to happen after it. So be careful if you have an Aries for a mate. Now they have raw courage, but at the same time, that courage can become a bad thing for them because they get very impulsive and they don't care what the consequences is after whatever decision they made in that moment. And just to go back on my mom, right? Another thing that she did that was very courageous. When she was pregnant with me, we're talking about in December, and on a snowy evening, my mom walked over the Philadelphia Bridge because she didn't want me to be born on Christmas Day. So she walked over the bridge on December 19th. The evening in December, on December 19th, she walked over the Philadelphia Bridge. And if you know anything about Philadelphia, you know that that bridge is long. She walked to and from, and when she came back, that raw courage that she had allowed her to do exactly what she set out to do. She walked that bridge because she wanted to have me on the 20th so that I wouldn't, well, she wanted to have me ahead of time so that I wouldn't be born on Christmas Day. And she did just that. Now you talking about somebody with courage. That is one woman with courage. And I know you know someone that, shows that, exudes that raw courage too, if they're Aries. But I just wanted to go back to that story because, man, do I love my mom, and, just wanted to kind of give her a boost right there. So now we have a Taurus, my husband, right? I've been saying it this whole time on here. So my husband is a Taurus, and one of his positive traits, out of many, is patience. Now, dealing with me as a Sagittarius, you have to be very patient because I'm a very strong-willed person. Um, I, as you can see, one of my negative traits is, or if you dig into it a little bit more, one of my negative traits is lack of tact, and amongst many others. But in order to deal with me and to deal with most people throughout my husband's life, he needs to be very patient. And so him being a Taurus is one thing that's very good. And with even within the relationship, you want somebody that practice patience. And that is, I mean, one of the major things that I love about my husband. Amongst other things, him being just a very patient person. I love that about him. He's patient with the kids. He's patient with his mom, patient with his dad. And, if you say something that he doesn't like, now don't, he gonna be bullheaded, but he's going to be very patient. And so said that to go right into his negative trait, right? His negative trait is, or not my husband's, but a Taurus. If you're a Taurus, your negative trait, one of your negative traits is blind prejudice and lack of reason. So let's think about a Taurus. And my father-in-law always messes with my husband. He always says that he's very bullheaded, right? And what that means is, I want you to YouTube a video of a bull. Most of the time, a bull always rams into something, right? They ram and ram and ram without any reason. Like, what are you ramming into that object for? They have no reason. So that's why my dad, says that he's very bullheaded. Uh, the ram doesn't see the blind prejudice in them, or the bull doesn't see that there's something in front of you. There's a gate right there in front of you that you can't get through. Why you want to keep ramming at it and ramming at it, right? So let's dissect that and get into that in relationships. Blind prejudice and lack of reason, which means they're blindsided. They got tunnel vision, and what they see is what they think and what they feel at that very moment is what they are going to do. They don't care about the reason in it. They don't care what happens after it. Kind of similar to an Aries a bit, right? They don't have peripheral vision at this moment. They got tunnel vision, and all they see is what's in front of them, and so they may lack reason. And that's just like a bull. When you YouTube a video of a bull, running into an object, I don't know what you should YouTube, but if you ever seen a video of a bull, that's what they do. They rev up and then they just start running and running into whatever object is in front of them. And then they rev up again and then run forward and right into that object again, right? And so that's a Taurus. So if you're a Taurus, be careful. Let's rewrite the narrative and try to work on that and work on yourself. Now let's go into Gemini. Gemini, their positive trait is versatility. My dad is a Gemini, and he is very versatile. You can put him in when we grew up. So my dad, being a Gemini, is someone you could put in um any circle and they will become very versatile, right? When we were growing up, my dad never we went to church with my grandma. We went to the mosque, and we went to many different religious um institutions. So we went to many different religious institutions, and when we were growing up, my dad always told us we're universal. And I think one of the reasons why he told us that is because he didn't even know, but him being a Gemini, he's very versatile. And so that's just one example of his versatility is you know even when he was in a church, he was versatile. He respected the religion, and when he was in the mosque, he was versatile. He respected the religion. And so a Gemini is very versatile. They have an ability to adapt or be adapted to many different functions or activities. That's the definition, and that's a Gemini. That's one of their positive traits is versatility. Now, going into their negative trait, right? One of their negative traits is shallowness. So their negative trait, shallowness, right? It means that they are not deep, they're lacking depth of character, intellect, or meaning, very superficial. So when a Gemini is practicing their negative, and if you're a Gemini, if you just look at yourself in the mirror and kind of think about, is that me? You'll see that. I'm sure there's something that you did that kind of makes this a true statement. Um, So a Cancer, you know, one of their positive traits is sensitivity. And cancers are very sensitive, and I have a couple friends and relatives that's cancers, and I can honestly say their sensitivity is one thing that I love about a cancer. And I'm sure if you're a cancer or if you know someone that's a cancer, them being very sensitive and in relationships, that is a major thing. That's something that's very good. If you have someone that knows how to be very sensitive with you, it's a good thing in relationships. Now let's talk about their negative trait. One of their negative traits is melancholy, which means that they become sad or depressed, of spirits. So they have a sadness or depression of spirits. And Again, if you know a Cancer, you know that they can become depressed or sad at the drop of a dime, which can ultimately alter your response to them or alter your day. So if you just come in the house from a good day's work, you're feeling good, and you come into your mate that's a Cancer, and now they're all of a sudden sad or depressed. And sometimes, it may be something that they should be sad or depressed about, but oftentimes, it's like, what you sad about for today? They just get that sadness or depression, and you really don't know, and then it becomes all about them. So you may have had something that you wanted to discuss about work, but now it became all about them. And that's okay. Sometimes you need to just give them their moment and allow them to come out of it, but just be aware of, that this is one thing that they do. And Cancer, I want you to be aware that this is something that you do so that you can kind of fix it and help work through that. And then we go into a Leo. A Leo positive trait is loyalty. Now we all know what being loyal means, and that's a very good thing within a relationship, because if you are somebody that's loyal and you have someone who is just not there yet, you may need to help them. Leo is going to stick it in there. They're going to stick in there with you. They're very loyal. They're going to stick it out with you until the end sometimes, until it's just like, all right, enough is enough. Now I'm over it and I got to do something else. A Leo is going to be loyal with you and they're going to stick it in there with you. But on one of their negative traits is arrogance. So, arrogance, Leo, I want you to listen to this definition. It's an attitude of superiority manifested in an overbearing manner or in presumptuous claims or assumptions. That definition is not good at all. We want you to dig into that and, a little bit deeper. For time's sake, we need to move on. But we want you to just kind of dig into that on your own and just know exactly who you are and how you can work on that a little bit better. Then we're going to move right into Virgo. A Virgo, one of their positive traits is clarity of thought. So a Virgo knows exactly what it is that they want. They know where they are. They just know. They have clarity of thought. They have that vision and they're going to execute it. Now, on their negative, one of their negative traits is crankiness. So if you come in the house and again, you came from a long day's work, you might come to a Virgo and they're very cranky. And if they're in that moment, you may need to just allow them to have that moment and then revisit whatever it is that, you had to tell them at a later time. Moving right on to Libra. Libra positive, one of their positive traits is gentleness and emotional balance. That means that a Libra is very gentle. Um, they are emotionally balanced. That's kind of self-explanatory. And then one of their negative traits though is indecisiveness. Now that's kind of self-explanatory too, but I want to go into that a little bit deeper, right? If you're in a relationship and in this program, we want everyone to have a prosperous relationship. We want you to learn how to strengthen your relationship. So I really don't want to say what I'm about to say, but I have to say it just for this, for example sakes. Um, they're indecisive. So if you're in a relationship with a Libra and you're at the point where you feel that the relationship may be over, it may not be working anymore, but you know that it needs to end, but you're not willing to end it either. I'm gonna tell you, a Libra is not going to end it. A Libra is going to allow you to continue to be in that relationship, and they may have moved on with the next person. They will never tell you this relationship needs to be over because they're very indecisive. So it's going to take for you to say, okay, enough is enough. I've had enough, and it's time for me to walk away. Because a Libra will mentally and physically walk away without verbally expressing to you that they're walking away. And that's just because of that indecisiveness. They're like in the middle of, is the grass greener on the other side? Should I stay where I am? They're in the middle of that. And because of that, indecisiveness and that negative trait that they have, you got to be very careful with a Libra. Let's move into a Scorpio. A Scorpio, one of their positive traits is willpower. So the definition of willpower is just energetic determination, right? They are determined. They whatever it is that they see fit to do, they're gonna do it. My brother is a Scorpio, and when I tell you, whenever it's something that I need to get creative with or something that I need fixed that I may not want to call a repairman or whatever the case may be, I know that I can go to my brother who's a Scorpio and his willpower is going to drive him to figure out what the answer is to whatever it is that I need him to do. If I need him to do some plumbing work and he's never done a plumbing job in his life, he's going to figure it out because he has that willpower and he's going to, do things whatever it takes to get the job done. Now, on the negative, a Scorpio can be very revengeful. So if you were ever in a relationship with a Scorpio and let's say you may have cheated on a Scorpio, it's probably best to cut your ties right there. And here's the reason why. Once a Scorpio has been hurt, they are hurt, and the chances of them coming back from that hurt while being in the situation with the same person that hurt them is very slim. It's slim to none. They are then going to become the revengeful type of person. So you just have to be a little leery and, don't hurt a Scorpio because they will become very revengeful. Now, on to Sagittarius. Sagittarius, one of our positive traits is candor. And candor just simply means it's the quality of being fair and unprejudiced, right? Again, that goes into us being a mutable sign. You can put us anywhere, and we have that quality of being honest, being fair with whatever it is that, it is that we see that needs to be done. Now, Sagittarius negative trait, we become emotionally confused, which means so this means being emotionally confused, and I'm laughing here because I'm just thinking about myself, but um it just simply means so sometimes when my husband and I get in a debate, right? Because we're human and all couples argue, right? So when we get in a argument sometimes, I can start crying in 1 minute and then switch around and then I want to holler in the next minute. So at that moment, I'm emotionally confused. I don't know what I want to do. Do you want to cry? Do you want to fight? What do you want to do at this moment? So if you have a Sagittarius, just understand that this is who they are. And it's, in Sagittarius, if that's you, I want you to channel that energy and that negative trait that you have of being emotionally confused and just determine what it is that you want to be. Do you want to be happy? Do you want to be sad? Do you want to cry? Do you want to fight? Like, just kind of channel it. All right. So what we just gave you was a breakdown of the 12 different astrology signs and a breakdown of exactly whether they are negative, whether they or not whether they are negative or positive, but more so of their one of their positive traits and one of their negative traits. And again, rewind this module or this lesson, pause it, fast forward it, do whatever it is you need to do. Jot, write some notes, take some notes down, and just go back over exactly who it is. Find yourself on this listen and go over exactly who you are and who your mate is, and help yourself and help your mate so that the two of you together can help each other.
And finally, we have the accountability sheet. Here, we'd like you to look over the astrology workbook. Next, we'd like you to study your sign and your partner sign. Write down 3 to 5 positive traits that you see in your mate, and write down 3 to 5 negative traits that you see in yourself. So until next time, help us help you take the madness out of matrimony.